Hey, it's another week, another recipe, and today we are really going out on a limb with experimenting with a can of evaporated milk and trying to turn it into ice cream. Let's go do some kitchen alchemy and see how it goes. Hey everyone, welcome back to my kitchen where we experiment on history's forgotten recipes. My name is Courtney Morris and I'm glad you're with me today. If you're new here, I hope you enjoyed the recipe, and if you're coming back for more, it's always appreciated to see you. Alright, let's dive in. Alright, so today's recipe is kind of a twofer in the sense that I have to make one thing to make another thing. So in my last video, it was kind of a toss-up between that awful potato ring I made and figuring out how to make whipped cream out of evaporated milk. And so now I'm on to the evaporated milk part, but then next to it has a homemade ice cream recipe that takes the whipped evaporated milk. So now I'm, wheels are turning. So, now the reason this caught my eye is because I don't always have fresh cream available to make whipped cream. And the aerosol stuff just has no flavor, so I just don't even bother with it. I actually have to go and buy a little quart or a pint of the whipping cream and make it myself. And then you can flavor it however you want. But if I can do it out of evaporated milk and not have to run to the store, I might be onto something here. Evaporated milk is just regular milk that's been heated enough to where about 60% of the water content has evaporated out. So it's a little thicker and more shelf stable, which is why you can can it. I am really hoping this works because this would be an awesome hack. Also, if you happen to hear a chainsaw-like noise in the background, I am sorry. I will try to scrub it out. That's my husband cleaning out our gutters. This step of the process is super simple. Apparently, I put the can of milk into a saucepan, add enough water to cover it, boil it for 15 minutes, and then I whisk it. Okay, so I took the label off of the can because I didn't really want to boil that too, but I filled up a pot of water and I put enough water in to fill about an inch above the top of the can, and I turned my stove on high and just let it get to a rolling boil. I don't know if you can see for the steam. And then I just put my timer on for 15 minutes like the instructions said, and then when it's done, then you're supposed to cool it off. Okay, so while that is getting ready to boil, once it does, I'm going to put the timer on for 15 minutes and get it to a rolling boil and leave it there for 15. And while that does that, I'm going to freeze my pan. Now, here's a trick. Anytime you make like a sorbet or a fruit ice cream or something that you need frozen fairly quickly that's a liquid, get a Wilton cake pan. The metal is thin enough to where it freezes a lot faster than a pie dish or even faster than like a normal just 8x8 pan. The metal's just a little bit different, a little bit thinner. And what I like to do is while I'm prepping everything, put your pan in the freezer, whatever pan you have, either way. But I like to put it in the freezer first, so then you are kind of speeding up the process. All right, so this has sufficiently cooled off, and now it just says to cool it, open it, and whisk it. And that's it for the evaporated milk part. Maybe. There we go. Looks the same, and smells about the same too. Okay, so it does say whisk it, and honestly, if I'm to be completely honest, I do not want to hand mix this. The electric hand mixers weren't available till the 50s and 60s, and this is a 1940s recipe, but honestly, my arms are sunburned and they hurt, and I'm just too tired. So I'm just gonna see how this goes. Actually, you know what? I am making a mess. Just a second. I'm gonna try using ye old KitchenAid cover here and see if the splatters get better. I can't tell if this is thickening up or it just has a lot of bubbles in it. Okay, so it's just frothy now, so it is thicker. It is kind of thicker. Maybe I need to keep going again. I am really glad I decided not to hand whisk this. All right, it is indeed getting thicker, and I'm not really hoping for the exact consistency of regular whipped cream because it's milk. It's not that cream that you would normally have. So I'm gonna go for a little more, and then I'm just gonna stop because this is taking too long. Okay, well, like usual, I never fail to make a mess. Put that over there. Stuff is everywhere. Okay, so I was reading the instructions while I was whipping this again, and there's a second part of it that is kind of like a different version of it, and it does say if you want a stiffer texture, then you add gelatin, and I am fresh out of gelatin aside from like orange flavored Jello, which might work, but honestly, I don't think this did thicken up enough, but I think it's a little bit more on the foamy side than it is like creamy side, but that's okay. It did thicken up actually decently. Okay, so for part one of this twofer recipe, the whipped evaporated cream, you know, it's not bad. And I knew that it wasn't gonna be like the whipped creamed consistency exactly because it isn't cream. But it whipped enough to where you could put some sugar in this and drizzle it over even apple pie or some dessert and just have more of a creamy topping. And I don't think it would be bad, quite honestly. It tastes like the top of a latte, really. It tastes like that foam, but a little bit sweeter, I suppose, but it really just, that's what it tastes like. And if you were to put a little almond extract or vanilla, cinnamon even, and some sugar in there, it would be a fantastic topping for pies or, I mean, whatever really you wanted to. So 2 thumbs up on that. I think that is a doable recipe, and it's super cheap. Cans of evaporated milk are a lot cheaper than the actual cream, and honestly, if I had a cow out back, I wouldn't be worrying about this. But I'm kind of impressed with that. Okay, so part 2. So to make this homemade ice cream, if you will, it does say to make an egg custard, which is on the other page over here, and add it to this, and with whatever flavoring. But it does say that if you want it a fruit flavor, you don't do the custard, and you can add a half a pint of thick sweetened fruit puree, which I happen to have. I made a lot of plum butter last year, and the plums were so sweet, I didn't need sugar or anything else. It literally is pureed plum, and it is so good. So I am going to not use that. So I'm going to do this because I do like a good fruit ice cream. I like sorbets, I like that kind of thing. Oh, I need to take the ladle out. And for the sake of not making more of a big mess, I'm going to use my manual whisk. So if you were to use the egg custard part of the homemade ice cream one, then you could use chocolate blend of cocoa powder. It says coffee, vanilla. Really, I guess you could flavor it however you wanted, but with the fruit, it does explicitly say don't use the egg custard part, which I can imagine that might not taste very good. It seems like that would be more of the egg custard would be for more of a rich, kind of like cheesecakey kind of. That's the only thing I can think of. That's not bad. I will say it does need some sweetener. Even though the plum butter is super sweet on its own, the evaporated milk kind of offsets that sweetness. But honestly, I don't think I want to use sugar with this. I want to use honey. Okay, so it does say sweetened to taste, and that's what I'm gonna do. We go through a lot of honey in this house, and one day we're gonna get bees and do my own thing, but that's not a this year project. Freeze it until it's mushy, and then take it out, and then beat it hard, and then return it back. So it's kind of emulating that ice cream churning, like a normal ice cream would. This is nice and frosty, and I'm just gonna pour that in. That's it, and we're gonna go let that sit and freeze, and I will be back when that is done. In it goes, and we'll see how long it takes to freeze up. So I decided to just mix this in my garage next to my freezer because it's kind of a walk to my kitchen, which actually worked out really well. So this, I guess, emulates the churning process, and look at how good the consistency is. I was actually really surprised. I was thinking it was just going to be more flaky and icy than it was creamy, but my goodness, that actually set up so well. All right, we are back. It is a couple hours later. This is quite frozen now. It looks really good. And it dawned on me while I was eating dinner that ice cream is made out of frozen cream and gelato is made out of frozen milk. So we just made a mock gelato, if you will. I mean, I'm gonna call it that because it sounds more fancy than evaporated milk ice cream. It thickened up so well. I was gonna put it in the bowl, but I'm just gonna be, you know, a barbarian and just eat out of my dish. That is a great texture. I'm gonna have to try this with the egg custard in it because I don't know if that'll probably make it more creamy. This, however, with just the milk and the pureed fruit and honey, it's like sorbet meets gelato. Like, it's a pop of flavor, but it's really light. It's really a good texture. That would suffice for any dessert for me. Honestly, that is really surprising. Really surprising, because the only thing I've ever used evaporated milk in is, I think, the pumpkin pie recipe on the back of the Libby's pumpkin puree can, and I think I used it in a roll recipe once or twice, and I didn't know what to do with it otherwise, or if it was actually real milk. But turns out it is, and I mean, really, from an economical standpoint, this is so budget friendly. I think I can get my cans of evaporated milk for under $1, and I mean, that's enough servings for my kids and my husband. I mean, well, maybe not my husband. He'll eat the whole thing. I promised my family I would save some if it was good, and I keep eating it, so I gotta stop eating it. So I'm gonna end this video so I can stop eating it and disperse it among the masses. If you have made it this far, I am so grateful. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. I hope you try it. I'll put both recipes in the description, and then if you decide to do the ice cream, I will make sure I put the egg custard that you would need for any other flavor but the fruit in there as well, so you have the option. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you join our community here. It's been awesome talking to you guys and getting to know you and your stories, and also getting recipes that you guys send over to me to try out. I hope you enjoyed it. If you need something else to watch, check this one out. This one was amazing as well. Thank you so much, and I will see you next week with another historical recipe. Bye.